Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's meeting. We're going to reconvene public session. This meeting of the Connetquot Board of Education will now reconvene. Everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. After the pledge, please remain standing for a moment of silence in honor of our servicemen and women. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Will the district clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Amarando.
Present.
Mr. Ferrioli.
Here.
Mrs. Orlis.
Present.
Mr. Grable.
Here.
Mrs. Kennedy.
Present.
Dr. Adams.
Present.
Mr. Annucci.
Present.
Mrs. Donnelly.
Present.
Mrs. Nancy.
Present.
Mr. Middleman.
Present.
And Smith. Thank you.
All right, so we're going to move on right away to E, the public hearing, 2017-2018 budget. Mrs. Sharon Donnelly will be the presenter.
This is something you've seen before, just bits and pieces of previous presentations, just to get the conversation going on the budget. In summary, revenues that are from taxes are $122,226,866 within the cap. And revenues other than taxes, which is depicted on the next slide, amounts to $65,176,000 for total revenues of $187,403,135. And this is the proposed revenue budget, which of course is in the same amount as the proposed expenditure budget. I'll make my back to you. So the budget is comprised of these components: appropriated fund balance of $2.6 million, miscellaneous revenue of $3.1, the application of reserves, state aid for the final executive budget proposal of $55.5 million, and then we see the tax levy there again at $122 million. This shows us where the tax levy increase has been for the past several years, now at 1.16. This slide shows you the impact of an approved budget on the property taxes. This is only estimated because we don't know what the assessed value is until the end of August. So it's calculated based on the last year's assessed value. We don't get that figure from the town till the very end of the summer. So we usually speak in terms of a $50,000 home to compare, and that gives you an estimated annual increase of $104 or $8.67 per month. These are the program additions that have been spoken about before. A YFS worker for support at Cherokee, a nurse to support the need of the preschool at Bosque and the special ed program, the district-wide phys ed initiative to increase the delivery of PE services across the district, E&L for anticipated additional Duffield students who will need that service, an additional clerical person at PPS to support the growing need there for services to the students, teaching assistants for the middle school testing center, and 3 part-time aides for the in-school suspension class S. and then 2 additional mental health positions at the middle schools to even out the support that's there for the mental health of those students. Also included in the budget is a $2.5 million transfer to capital to provide for boilers at multiple locations, 2 at Slocum, which is both of them, 1 here in the transportation department, and which also supports more than just the transportation wing, and a boiler at Prem, which is very old also, control systems, rooftop HVAC units, paving primarily at idle hour, and various boiler room equipment like water heaters. I don't like to say hot water heaters, because if it were hot, you wouldn't have to heat it, right? We break down the budget into 3 components, which we're required to do. The components are administrative, program, and capital. These are the items that make up the administrative component. These are the items that make up the program component. And these are the items that make up the capital component. And that's significant to do because you have to prepare for a contingency budget which does not allow your administrative component to exceed the proportion that it was to the sum of administrative and program in the prior year. And we're asking that you come out and vote on May 16th at the secondary schools.
I have a question.
Yes.
Here. Is that all the teachers, is that all we're getting for next year?
No, there are also a lot of program initiatives that are included that were not listed in this presentation. But yes, there were numerous items, which I can pull up from the previous.
Teachers, et cetera, that we're adding. Pardon?
That's the statute.
This is it? That's all we're adding for next year?
That's all the staffing that's being added, but what wasn't shown are all the program additions and enhancements, which Mrs. Manzi and Mr. Middleman have discussed previously, but I can pull that up if you'd like to see. So this is what the slide I just went over. What I didn't include in this presentation were all of these enhancements or continuations of existing things like favorable class sizes, moving forward with the enhancement for the STEM program, increasing the rigor and the offering in the science research program. What do you want to do there? That's awesome. I just hate to read it to them. Implementing the Google Classroom at the high school and piloting Bring Your Own Device, which I'm sure is long overdue, right? That's something that we should be doing.
Does that mean there's teachers in here, in this word?
No, those programs.
Yeah,
This is program enhancement.
Yeah, just add 2.5 something for this tertiary recess.
No, it was for here's the, his illustration. That's on it. For physics.
Yes, district-wide.
So they get enough minutes longer.
Yes, it's gonna be 40 minutes longer a week.
And then what happens next year if the third is
Can you please put your microphone on, Lee?
more teachers for that?
I can hear things she's saying.
This is to give kids how much more time?
40 minutes a week. Up to 120 minutes a week.
That's a regulation?
State reg.
Is that the new regulation that came out this year?
It's not a new reg, we're coming to the reg in third grade.
So for the rest of, every other year it's illegal?
Well,
We're not
we
following.
we have not been providing 120 minutes of physical education for our third graders. We will next year. And we will then slowly move it down into second, first, and kindergarten.
Why did you pick third grade being the first year?
Because fourth and fifth grade have 120 minutes.
So, Dean,
There's also
how,
some more free time in younger classrooms where there's actually the stations that the folks can use, the teachers can use, and they can do more in the classroom because they're smaller bodies, bigger spaces. And we felt third graders really at this point were really beginning to learn a little bit more fine motor, gross motor movements. And that was also where we had added music 2 years ago. So we had added the band and the orchestra in third grade. So what we did was we traded off a 40-minute general music for the 40-minute band. So they'll get a 40-minute general music a week and a lesson and a performance band.
So every year we have to add 2.5 more teachers for every grade.
We'll see. We'll see as we move through. But that's how many it costs this year.
so Dean, how are you enhancing the science research program?
So we added the fourth level for science research, which is our highest level. We have curriculum writing that's going in for all 4 of the courses that we have going on, as well as continuing to split the whole equivalence of biology.
Interesting.
You really should do this part.
So we are adding Z-Space, which is a interactive lab experience for students that we are going to be rotating around in grades 5 and 6. We're going to continue to support our literacy initiative that we started this year and rolling it out into additional grades, as well as continuing the writing project that we started 3 years ago at the middle school, which is doing fantastically well. It's a nice bridge between what we're doing at the elementary level and a connection to the middle school level. We are, Mr. Costa did a presentation on the Futuring project for the high school, again focusing on student achievement, the social and emotional well-being of our students, and then providing that service, the community service component. Currently, we've been studying our courses, our offering compared to other districts, like ones and aspirational schools. We are looking at enrollment over time, as well as the development of the Committee on the Excellence of Education, which is a high school committee comprised of administrative staff and parents. And again, an increased focus on professional development at the secondary level.
What is focused on achievement? Can you give me an example of what that means?
So we have both hard data and soft data that we're looking at. We're looking at one of the biggest goals that we have is that we want all of our students to take one college level course prior to graduation. So that's one example of it. We're looking at AP, the number of AP exams that have taken place, number of students sitting for AP exams. We're looking at enrollment in our honors and AP programs. So that's kind of some of the data.
So if a child sits for the AP class but decides not to take the test, so what does that fall into?
They would then get an honors designation.
Okay, so so when you want to have children apply themselves to take an AP, if they get themselves a little over their head, they don't have to take the test?
No, but then they would not have the AP designation. They still have the rigor of the course, which is still excellent. It's something that we want to encourage our kids. But they would just, they would not sit through the exam, and then they would get the honors grade.
So is there a sliding scale on the grade for that, an AP? What is this? Oh, so of course it's an honors.
It's just a weighting at the end.
It also doesn't carry the AP courses that make it on their transcript.
No, I'm aware of that.
So to support our English language learners and our parents, most importantly, we are seeing an increase in our population. When I first started, we were in the low 90s. We're at roughly about between 125 and 130 students in our district. We have a tremendously diverse ENL population, which is incredible and also challenging at the same time because providing those services. One of the things that we had piloted this year was Propio. Propio. Generally, when we needed to have parents be part of either educational decisions or programs or placement, we would have to hire an outside translator. And trying to find that translator was also very challenging because of the diversity in the languages. There's a new program out. It's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's available not just for our administrators, but for all of our teachers. And it provides a translator in every language at all times. So it's really helped bring our ENL parents into the school community. And we've seen a large increase in participation, and we're very excited about that.
That actually came up at the OBMS budget night, and they were saying that that service can actually be used outside of school for those that have the language barriers.
Yeah.
Has that been used for outside?
Not yet. We're just piloting it in-house, and we wanted to make sure that what they stated was what we were sold, and we've been very impressed with the product so far. So we're looking to definitely roll that out next year. In addition, we are using Elevation, which is similar to IEP Direct. We have the Part 154 regulation. It's really important that we're meeting the needs of our ENL students, and this makes sure that we are allowing to track their progress on their instructional goals. Would you like to speak about special education?
We're continuing to balance the programs across the district. So in special education, approximately 2 years ago, we had programs, but they were not all placed on both the north and the south side of town. They also were not in both middle schools. So we could have students traveling from one side of town all the way to the other side of town in order to receive an appropriate program. At this point, I'm happy to say, and I thank the board as well as administration and parents and teachers in the community for allowing us to provide special class, ICT, as well as resource room in 2 elementary schools, as well as both middle schools. So this allows us, this cuts down on transportation. It also allows for students to be closer to their home school. It also allows us to be able to trial different kinds of classes for students without transferring them from building to building. In addition to that, this budget would also allow us to provide teacher assistance to our middle school classes. We have middle school classes, life skill classes in both middle schools. Also, it allows a psychologist on special assignment to support our students in BOCES, as well as to offer an additional layer of support within the district to make sure that our BOCES students are adequately cared for, and can they return to district? Is it appropriate for them to return to district? In addition to that, we have some professional development in the area of reading, integrated co-teaching, as well as additional mental health support in both middle schools.
We have expanded our pathways. It's another one of our featuring projects. We had our first full year of our CTE New York State accredited program in the Business Academy. We are starting our STEM Academy next year at the high school, and then we have exploratory committees that will start next year looking at both computer science and cybersecurity as alternate pathways for our students to get that more specialized support or instruction at the high school level. And as always, our arts, music, and athletics continue to be top-notch, not only for our community but around the county. And we're very excited about being able to support that and continue that great work that's going on.
Thank you. Thank you. Is coding in there?
Yes, there's a large spider. That's.
What?
John, can you take care of your friend?
It's up on the ceiling.
He really travels.
I know. There he goes. Okay, I'm okay. The little bug fear.
Keep an eye on your friend, John.
All right, thank you, Ms. Donnelly.
Very welcome.
Thank you, everyone who made a comment. All right, we're moving on to number 2, public comment on 2017-2018 budget only. This section of the agenda gives the Board of Education an opportunity to recognize persons who wish to raise a question or to make a brief statement on items related to the public hearing only. Speakers are to address the board president, and there is no time limit at the public hearing, and speakers may speak for up to 4 minutes.
Oh, you changed that. Very nice.
Public hearing.
Just for public hearing.
Why don't we less than 4 minutes? contingency budget, how can I find that? Where can I get a copy of that?
That's not posted.
I know, how come?
You'll be getting the information in the state notice, which goes home tomorrow to the public hearing.
But the actual contingency budget is not online anywhere, like we have our, like you gave us those big sheets for our budget, we don't have one of those for the contingency budget?
I actually do not.
So if I had to find it, I would have to foil it, if I wanted
Well,
to see it?
I don't think that I'd be able to give that to you because it talks about elimination of some people's positions that is identifiable by the
Well, I
title.
mean, that could be redacted, and foil.
Well, then you don't have it.
But there's, no, you could redact names and leave numbers.
You'll have this.
Position would identify.
You'll have this, and I named everything.
That,
could
what
be
you said
redact.
was, right, I know, I just wanted to see numbers, I wanted to compare numbers to numbers, but, okay.
And
That's all.
it comes to the total that's shown here.
No, I know, we talked about it last time, but then I looked online for a copy, and I didn't see it.
Because it's not released until after it's back,
Oh,
in this format.
in that format, not line by line.
No, because of what I just said.
Right. But if you do it line by line, the regular budget doesn't have identifiable
That's
positions.
right. That's why that's posted.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else?
I'm gonna break the rules. Just give me fair warning. I was gonna ask last meeting, about a year ago, I brought up, how our regions are used for fourth quarter. We're using 20% of the final grade. It's not about the budget, but the question can't wait anymore. I just drew a blank on the word. Transcript review committee was formed sometime, we started meeting sometime in November. Finished, final meeting was sometime in December. Was told that we would have a decision probably by January. Well, here we are in May, and the June regions are coming up. So we have not done anything, we have not looked anything. I have sent an email asking for a follow-up, and I've spoken to a few people for a follow-up, and still have not heard anything. So here we are a
Say
year
that again,
later.
what are you looking for an answer on?
Transcript review committee decision. How are we using the regions for the final grade? Are we still using 20%?
Was there a leader of the committee?
Was there what?
Was there a leader of the committee, or was it just kind of a group of,
It was a committee up at the high school.
or site
I would
at the high school,
assume,
that was,
I would
was there one
assume
person
Mr.
who?
Costa was the facilitator, and
Was
he
that each
headed it.
meeting?
That's what I would,
Alright, find out that information.
Do our best to have someone.
June regions
Get
coming
that
up, and
information.
we haven't done anything to help our kids.
So what you're basically asking to eliminate a fifth quarter score.
Yes. That's been my position since
Yep.
last year. What the final decision was, I'm not
We didn't get
entirely sure, and I was on the committee.
How long did you sit on the committee for?
Yes, from beginning to end,
And how long did it consist of?
November through December.
So did the committee come to a consensus, or?
Actually, because of medical reasons, couldn't go to the
Okay.
last meeting. I was on the phone from our conference call, but not entirely 100%.
That's fine.
So
So we,
what that consensus
So we're
was,
looking to find out exactly what that consensus was
on a
first.
decision, how are we helping our kids?
did you,
June's coming up.
did you follow Picasso considering
I have.
and he hasn't, because if he facilitated the meeting, he wouldn't have the answer?
Think it's not.
Oh, okay. All right, we'll definitely look into that, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else?
Only about the budget, right?
All right, we're gonna move on to number 3.
Sorry.
Public hearing of the code of conduct. The presenter will be Ms. Gail Sanford. Good evening, Ms. Sanford.
Good evening, how are you?
Good. Hello.
Mr. Nolan, would you please help me?
Please, for the sake of PowerPoint.
Kid's name?
Flash F, would you come up?
Okay.
Do you have a clicker?
Is that Ms. Sharon? This is for the union.
Yes. Conduct Policy Committee. And the Code of Conduct has been in effect.
Can you give her a microphone? I have
Oh, I'm
these
sorry.
things are right in my ear. I can't hear anything.
I already did.
Oh, okay, good.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
No, it's the fans in the back and over there.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Oh, wow, I hear my own self now.
Thank you.
Okay, better?
Much.
Yes.
Thank
Okay,
you.
much improved?
Well, except that's not
What
better.
am I not to do?
Don't turn to your left.
If you ask an Italian not to move their hands, I'm in trouble.
Stand right there.
How about if you put it on
Chair.
now? I turned off these. What about on the chair?
Andrea took care of the problem.
I thought they were going to ask me not to use my hands, that would have been helpful. Okay, so, all right, a little levity this time of night, right? So I am the facilitator of the Code of Conduct Committee. We meet annually, and of course, it's given then our recommendations are contributed or presented to the Policy Committee, and then thus the Board of Education. So thank you for receiving our recommendations. And as I was saying before, I believe the Code of Conduct has been in effect since, I shall date myself, Governor Pataki, I want to say around 2000, Project SAVE, when Project SAVE began. So I only raised that because it is a solid working document that is embedded in district culture, supported by New York State mandates, guidelines, and laws, and supported by various regulation, and which of course is sanctioned by the Board of Education and the district's attorney. So it is a document that represents our culture, our standards, our expectations for all community stakeholders, and there are only a few revisions, so I can do this in 4 slides. So I'm going to draw your attention, Mr. Nucci just smiled when I said that. I'm going to call your attention to just the areas of substantial revision or substantive revision. It's not even substantial. Of course, every year we tweak the grammar and the vernacular, and we try to make it a supreme document. All right? So that is the background. Okay, it's the center, yes?
It's on the right. Left hand side.
Next slide. There we go.
There you
Good
go.
job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dean. All right, so for those of you, the policy number is 5300, and the numbers there after each heading is the subsection within the department. Just for your reference, of course, I've labeled them. And in this regard, remember I said all stakeholders within the community, that speaks to the essential partners as identified therein. And those can consist of all parents, teachers, student support services personnel, other school district staff, coaches, advisors, principals, other administrators, the superintendent and all district administrators, and the Board of Education. So even inclusive in the Code of Conduct are the visitors. So the only area, as you know, we want to maintain consistent standard and have the same expectation for all stakeholders. So all of my revisions are in gold, and I just call your attention to the only substantive revisions to this section were the 2 on the bottom, reporting incidents of the discrimination and harassment that are made available to made known to one of the subsections, as well as comporting themselves in a manner consistent with their professional responsibilities and the district's code of conduct. Those 2 expectations are listed or required of all stakeholders. The only stakeholder it was not included on, and it was only oversight, was for the Board of Education. So now all standard of expectations the same for all stakeholders. Okay? That was the first revision. The second substantive revision. The second was in the expected student conduct, .25. That's where they speak to, it identifies student conduct that would not be acceptable, and it may result in some type of action or consequence. And in this regard, it's identifying conduct that is disorderly. Examples of disorderly conduct include but are not limited to, and it reads, distributing school-related photos or videos through electronic or social media, including but not limited to Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, cell phones. We wanted to add Snapchat without the express written consent of all parties involved is prohibited. It's prevalent, as you know, we are in worlds of technology. Our students, as well as our community, are very actively engaged in using technology, both socially and academically, which we are supporters of. However, there are always, whenever there's change or new venues or modes of communication, there is always a risk. So we are teaching our students to be productive members of society, and we're defining what behavior is not acceptable. And communicating photos of others without written consent is strictly prohibited. And the policy committee was very astute, and rather than identifying all social media venues, they compressed, Ms. Wilson, they compressed the verbiage and identified the bottom to read. I don't have to read the whole thing, just any videos or pictures through electronic devices or any and all social media platforms is prohibited. So whomever made that recommendation, kudos to you. Well, I just figured by your body language, Mr. Really, I figured it was.
There was a consensus, we all came together.
But I think
We collaborated.
I think in the next 3 years, I would have had 5 different, we were trying to remain current, and that was a very wise thing to do. However, 6 years ago, before it was familiar all, it was important to identify, but now I think that was very wise. Okay, so the next subsection was point 35, disciplinary penalties. We just identified the penalty section, procedures, and student searches and interviews. Again, important changes, but benign as far as the substance of our code of conduct. It really identifies the parties that are involved in each of the steps. So under penalties, you'll see a statement wherein the different infractions are listed and the point person or the person that has the right to authorize the penalty is identified. For example, the suspension from social or extracurricular activities had included teachers or identified teachers, club advisors, coaches, and we added building administration. Suspension from athletic participation, identified coaches, but we also have an athletic director at the secondary level, so we identified that person. Our aim is always to be succinct and to identify all parties that we have involved in the district. And then similarly, the superintendent, of course, is authorized to suspend any student in the district when the behavior warrants, as well as the building principal. So those are the only two in the umbrella that oversees all suspensions. Okay? Procedures, within procedures, it speaks to specifically transportation behavior or shortened term bus transportation or bus behavior. And two behaviors that are strictly prohibited and that could result in either a consequence or even, I'll go so far as to say, bus suspension, assuming all due process rights have been afforded. That is, it's letter E, it's not a typo, but that's the letter in the Code of Conduct, should you want to look at it. And it used to read E, smoking or lighting of matches. And as you can see, we're a little more succinct, but also comprehensive. So in E, we listed all of those things that students or adults, but in this case we're talking about bus behavior, that students may be observed smoking that are not appropriate on student grounds. And we, of course, strictly prohibit it in school age for their health. But on buses, cigarettes, e-cigarettes, vaporizers, cigar, pipe, even chewing tobacco or smokeless tobacco is prohibited. So the color is the revision, as well as we took out lighting of matches, and unfortunately we have to think larger. The use of any incendiary devices is prohibited. So that was added as well. And then lastly, under student searches and interviews, of course administrative protocol is defined therein in the Code of Conduct, and it is quite succinct, but the person that didn't exist at the time of the authorship was the Dean of Students. So that person, that official, has now been identified as having the right to conduct a search or coordinate an interview to such an event.
Who's our Dean of Students?
The Dean of Students at the high
Mr.
school.
Hanson.
Oh, who is it? I'm sorry, Mr. Hanson. Okay. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of the presentation.
Yes, I have a question.
Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome.
I have a question. So if I violated one of the provisions in the Code of Conduct, what would be my consequence?
Well, interesting. In these specifically, or within the code of conduct, there are two
Within the code
things.
of conduct.
The instances that was just discussing, what would the consequence be? Okay. The consequence is not clearly defined, the consequence is determined on 3 variables. And the district was purposeful in this decision making. We do not want to have one umbrella response to every incident or behavior, identical behavior, because we recognize that every child is unique. And therefore, we have to look at the developmental readiness of the child. We have to look at the cognitive ability of what they understand and what their
I
intent
understand
is.
the children's perspective, I'm saying as an adult.
Oh, as an adult? Okay, well, the items that I
You added
discussed.
two more items.
I didn't do it.
I don't think we need that now. I'll speak louder. Can you hear me?
You added
Yes.
2 more items onto the conduct of the Board
You're
of
talking about
Education.
comporting oneself in behavior appropriate with one's role and responsibility. And the other is,
You witness harassment
or if any incident of harassment is known, it should be reported. And therefore, it would be reported to either myself, who is a Title IX or DASSA coordinator, or the superintendent of schools. Okay, so that should be reported if any conduct is observed or experienced, it should be formally reported. And I think the other one is self-explanatory as far
Okay,
as
so
the
what's the
statement.
consequence on the last item?
What, reporting oneself as
Right.
far as what the role and responsibility, so what is the consequence if that were not to be upheld?
Correct.
Well, unfortunately, and this is not an answer, I'm not talking or giving you a strategic answer insofar as I am not the person that determines the consequence of that action. If that were to be suspected, then I would liken that to be reported as well. And if it were perceived to be, and once it were investigated and inquired, if there were a finding, then it would be presented to the superintendent of schools.
Interesting.
Does that help you?
Not entirely, but I'll take your answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Santo.
And you're very
Thank
welcome.
you very much. Any questions? Yes.
Yes.
Well, that's what we're moving to next, public comment. Number 4, public comment on the code of conduct only. This section of the agenda gives the Board of Education an opportunity to recognize persons who wish to raise a question or to make a brief statement on items related to the public hearing only. Items presented are for the code of conduct only. Speakers are to address the board president. There is no time limit at the public hearing. Speakers may speak for up to 4 minutes. Yes, please. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I knew that. So just to go with what Myron said, and I just have asked Don this a few times, if I was to stand outside the front doors and start vaping, I asked Don, what are my consequences? I'm a parent, I'm not employed by the district, what would you do? He'd say, I have to ask you to stop. I'd say, okay, that's it. I can do it again next week, the week after. So there's no, I read through the whole code of conduct several times, we talked about this last year. There is no consequences for adults, whether they be employees, trustees, parents, anyone. There's no consequences. So what would make you follow the rules as a parent even?
The only one that's that.
Yes, I can answer that one. I thought that was, the previous question was a specific topic. In this regard, years ago, we would declare a drug-free school zone. So that would be an infraction, just to the local registration of the district, as well as the code of conduct. So I would surmise, like in any instance that is brought before us, we look at a progressive response, unless the incident is so egregious that it requires a more extreme response. So progressive, I mean warning, perhaps we start with a conversation and a verbal warning. If it occurs again, then perhaps we would send a letter giving a direction from the superintendent of schools or the Board of Education.
And that's for like any instance. I'm not,
Well,
I'm using
I'm
vaping as
using-
an example,
I'm
but what
using
about
the
if I was
example-
cursing or
All right,
yelling?
but let me just go back to that one, just so
Okay.
everyone is clear.
Okay.
That if someone did not heed the warning or respond to the letter, then the superintendent of the Board of Education would have the right to prohibit access if they are not abiding by school property. Similarly, that if you remember years ago, we had on the weekends a lot of students or children, and we didn't know if they were district students,
Right.
but using skateboards and causing destruction to school property
Correct.
and potentially at risk of harming themselves. So in part of the code of conduct, there were restrictions as to what could be done on school property.
Right.
And also visitors have to sign in, so we know that the presence is there. And then we have security monitoring, so there are
Right.
steps to
For-
follow up.
Okay, so for parents, even if it wasn't like vaping, if it was like I'm cursing the board out tonight, I could be removed from the property.
Yes.
And if it happens again, I could do all that. But, okay, so then what about the staff and the trustees who are not really employees, or any staff? I mean, you can't ban them from the building, they work here.
No, well, again, we're going to the end, we're talking
Okay.
about progressive.
Okay.
And in that regard, what I can say so everyone can hear me, every instance that is reported to either myself or to the superintendent of schools, based on what happened, is investigated first.
Okay.
And that is what is significant and what I should emphasize. No judgment or no decision, or finding is made hastily or without thorough investigation. And then coupled with that, there is a progressive response. And that progressive response is the same mentality and philosophy we maintain for our students, our staff, public, across the board.
Well, our students
Now, everyone-
have specific consequences.
Our
They can
students get punished.
Yeah, our students can get
Right.
punished. They would
Right.
have, detention, it's suspensions. They have specific punishments.
Well, I think that what
We have-
also made
Ours is more
maybe
vague, is my point.
more vague, or
Yeah.
perhaps everyone doesn't, not all parties may agree with findings, but every incident and anything that is reported is addressed in the same manner. It is thoroughly investigated, I can assure you of that, reported on, and there are anecdotal records, and we take it from there.
So then my final suggestion would be, we have on the code of conduct the actual consequences for students. Maybe we should include something about the consequences for adults, the progressive that Ms. Santos just talked about. Maybe you should put that on there so parents don't think that there is no consequences for adults and that they can go onto a field and start cursing somebody out or whatever it is that somebody does that they shouldn't be doing.
Yeah, currently there is
You
no
know what I mean?
consequence of behavior.
Just a suggestion.
Right, and just to further piggyback and support what you're saying, the philosophy behind, in the code of conduct, there are not exact consequences. For example, there's no absolute equation.
No.
It doesn't say, if you do this, at this time, it equals this. There's no A
No,
plus
but
B
it does
equals
say you
C.
can get.
No, absolutely.
Right, so you
Because
can do the same thing for an adult.
what we recognize is
Yeah.
that each child, each student is an individual,
Right.
and the profile, the cognitive ability, the developmental readiness, whether or not there's a disability or not, that may impact the child's behavior or any person. I understand, I just wanted to make
Yeah,
it
no,
clear.
and I see
there
that there's
isn't-
not specifics, but you could do the
Right.
same thing for adults.
Yeah.
To include it so that it's more comprehensive and it's more transparent. Because the way it's written right now, it kind of looks like I can do whatever I want, you're really not
Yeah,
gonna
there's
do
no
anything.
consequence for behavior.
I'm just saying. So it looks, just a suggestion. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Would anyone else like to have a question or comment? All right, thank you, Ms. Santos. Thank you. We'll move on to F, minutes of the Board of Education. I'm going to need a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the April 18th, 2017 budget adoption meeting. Motion. Second? All in favor? Aye. Need a motion and a second for number 2, to approve the minutes of the May 1st, 2017 special meeting. Motion. Second? All in favor? Aye. Moving on to G, reports and discussion. Student government report. Good evening. ladies.
They're doing regular business, but we can't progress regular business?
This week is actually one of our busiest weeks at the end of the year. Friday is our student government run talent show. I believe it starts at 7.
Is this Friday?
Yes, this Friday. I believe there's about 15 acts and they get prizes. We have judges that will be picked, non-biased. And then on Saturday we have our Relay for Life at track. I think it starts at 5:30, the Survivor Dinner. That's also hosted by Student Government with Dinner. Elections will be coming up for upcoming underclassmen. And June 2nd is our senior barbecue. So that's what we have planned for the rest of the school.
When's the senior barbecue?
June 2nd, it's a Friday.
Great.
Where you going to school?
UMass Amherst.
So, what are you gonna study?
I'm gonna double major in math and in Spanish.
Very good.
Congratulations.
Are either one of you seniors?
Yeah.
Where are you going?
University of Buffalo.
Okay, you like snow?
Yes.
Okay. What are you gonna study?
Nursing.
Awesome.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, thank you. Good luck. Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you again. Thank you. Any questions, any comments, everyone, about number 2, NISBA resolutions?
No.
No?
I don't like some of them.
Okay. H, recommended action, financial matters. Motion. Second on just number 1, correct? Budget
Yes.
transfers? Any questions, any comments? Okay, can I get a motion? Motion. Second. All in favor?
Craig, one of these young ladies would like to speak.
Please do so.
So hi, I'm a senior at public school, as you know. And I just want to talk about the process I've gone through with guidance in all 4 years of my high school experience. And I'm kind of disappointed to say it's not been a good one, especially last year and this year for me. I had a very difficult time applying to college. It's something that I've never done before, that my parents have never done before. It's just all technology now. So last year, I was never called down to set up my Common App, which is how you fill out your demographics, like where your parents went to school and all of that. So I kept on going to the secretary in my guidance office for my specific counselor. Never got called back, so eventually my mom had to call the school and I got my own appointment. This year I came back, they changed Common App and Naviance to reset it. Didn't know I had to reset it. Finally got called down to reset it. And I had to switch guidance counselors because in 10th grade, this is all over the place, I know, but like my experience is like crazy.
Take your
But
time.
in 10th grade, when I went down, I was scheduling my class for 11th grade, and I wanted to take college human anatomy and physiology. And I was told by my guidance counselor, and I quote, "Your science and math grades are not good enough for a doctor. I would try nursing."
Nice.
So I was not enrolled in school for nursing now. I was not put in my science courses that I requested. And I have been an honor student since you could be an honor student, which was 7th grade for me. I've taken APs since you could. And I'm in 5 college courses this year through not only AP courses, but also through LIU Post and St. John's. So I went to apply this year for University of Buffalo, and there was an honors program that I was not aware of. My guidance counselor never informed me of it. And when I confronted her about that, she asked me if I looked at the requirements for the program. I said no because I did not know that the requirement existed, and when I went to Buffalo, that was the first time I was aware of the program. She told me that just because I applied does not mean I would get in. And that would be my seat in the nursing program right there. I have a 3.7 GPA, and I've worked my butt off for 4 years, and I've been very disgusted with the guidance department here. I would really like to be considered more than just a transcript and a file on a computer, because I am a person and like I have goals in life, and I've not been helped by the school much at all. I would like better organization from the guidance department, because I've had to schedule all my appointments and I was told I was going to get priority, and I never have gotten priority. Even as a senior, I go in there and my guidance counselor is on the phone, and I'm standing at the desk for 10 minutes waiting. And I'm in honors and AP classes. I'm paying $300 for these college courses, and I'm wasting my time standing in the guidance office because she goes, "I'll see you in a minute," and never comes out. I want to be pushed to my best and not just average, because I felt like I settled this year, and I do not like that feeling. When I did not get into one of my schools, I was handed a list of easier schools to get into. I was not pushed to my best, and I know I'm better than that. And I'd also like the advisors to advise, but with the input of the students, because I felt I was handed a generic schedule, and we're not all the same.
Thank you.
Very sorry to hear that.
I'm really sorry.
They make the phone calls, they tell us about them. There are so many programs on how to fill out your college app, how to get scholarships, how to get everything. You're aware, we all get the phone calls. There's honestly a lot of resources that I can honestly say my son would go down to guidance, and I called secretary also to say that, does he need an appointment? You just come right down, we'll get him right in. Every time he went down, they got him right in. Any training he needed, they were always offering a class, something that I could do. Maybe you just didn't realize, but there was phone calls to everybody, and I can't, because Sigmund is honestly, he's so dedicated to the children. The head of the department is very dedicated, and truly brings in people from the colleges and everybody, so you can go to all these events and learn how to do these things.
It sounds like she had a different experience.
Yes, I know, that's why I had to speak, because I wanted you to know that, on the other hand, there is other experiences. And this is my second child, my first child already graduated last year, same experiences. The head of the department offered all these programs and things that I took advantage of, and I went to find out about financial aid, to find out how to develop Common App, to find out how to do all the different things. So, it's there, but you just have to realize, I guess, that it is there. And,
What I'm hearing is.
Right,
something
first
very-
time
I just
parent
want to say
wouldn't
that
know.
there is though, things there for the kids and opportunities.
Thank you, miss. This is not it's not the time,
I think you should let her speak.
You let a child speak.
I'll definitely let her, I'll definitely speak to her outside.
Okay,
That's an option.
thank you.
I want to hear what you have to say.
So do
I'd
I.
like to hear what she has to say. We're all here for the children, so if I don't get to hear children speak, then what's the point of being up here?
Miss, you can speak if you
You
want.
can speak, sweetheart. I'm gonna speak.
Why? Half of you guys don't care.
I care. I
Wait, who doesn't
speak.
care?
It's
Who
not
doesn't
about
care?
caring, honey.
No,
It's not
miss.
about caring, it's
I
about
would love to
one
listen to
person
you.
going back at another
Yes.
person. It's not
It's
about
just-
caring.
She's my sister.
It's
I
about
would love
creating
to
the
listen to you.
environment
I
of one
listen to
person going back at
every
another person.
adult
It's not
child
about
that
caring.
wants to
Sweetheart,
speak.
speak.
Everyone wants to hear, but it's
Not one.
no.
And this is the
It's not
time
about
to
caring.
argue.
It's not the appropriate place and one going back at one another. Just stick to no names and tell us what's going
I can
on.
speak about it, where actually people listen.
Absolutely.
I've known, I'm a triplet, and all three of us have had problems with their guidance. I know like 5 people who are happy with their guidance counselors. We're literally treated like we don't even matter. I go down, and I have 3 off periods. Each off period, I go down, and my guidance counselor is literally with a freshman. So priority isn't a thing in the school, and we were not made aware of. I'm an athlete, so I wanted to play a sport in college, and I am. But I went down and specifically asked for help with the NCAA guidelines and stuff, and they had no idea what they were doing. So I understand it's different for each student.
Yes, 100%.
But to say that it's just like each student has a different perspective with their guidance counselor, it's not fair. That we're all placed into a stereotype.
So you guys all the same counselor?
Yeah, and we switched. And literally the second one's even worse.
Can you
So.
get the names so we can just find out what their experience
Just
is? and
a
what's
question.
going on?
Maybe 3 years ago, 4 years ago, apparently this 4 years ago this started?
Yeah, when she went down to
Did-
complain about bullying, and she was told to move on.
Did your parent try to get involved? Yeah.
Who's the middle one that your information?
Yes. Again, very sorry.
Try to
Feel that way.
Yeah.
why you felt that way.
I never like to do things like
Not appropriate.
that. None of us like to do
It
things.
wasn't about not wanting you to speak, it was about the appropriate
Yes.
place and not having people go back and forth with each other about who's better and who's not better, and that's really what it's about. It's not about you not speaking.
All right, girls, I commend you for speaking. I know that takes a lot of guts, so I commend you.
Mr. Middleman's outside to talk to
Mr.
you.
Middleman's waiting for
Yeah,
the girls.
get all your information and we'll.
All right, so we are going to move into executive session tonight. I need a motion and a second.
Motion.
For the motion, it's really stating the reason for, all right, so we need a motion for the Board of Education to move into executive session in accordance with Open Meetings Law, Section 105F, employment history, particular person confidential.
Motion.
Second?
No.
In favor?
Thank you, everybody.
I need a motion. Good night.